The so-called rising star of the Democratic Party has officially gone off the rails.
What's up, Jasmine Crockett? CJ Pearson here. On behalf of the black community, can you do me a favor? Can you shut the hell up? No, seriously, I'm genuinely asking. Can you shut the hell up? Because every single time you open up your mouth, you set black people back at least 10,000 steps. At least 10,000 steps. And what's so offensive about you is that the Democrat Party thinks that you are the type of person that can convince black people to do anything. They think that if they trot out some ghetto Barbie who uses bad grammar, acts a little hood, gets a little ratchet, that all the black people are just going to listen to everything you say. Everything you say.
Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is officially getting censured as she defends her recent remarks about Governor Greg Abbott. Busted on camera. Jasmine Crockett just made the biggest mistake of her career, guys, and this time she might actually face jail time. So the governor finally snaps and answers Jasmine Crockett's comments against him. A CNN commentator justifies what the Congresswoman is saying against the disabled, and a GOP representative calls for Crockett to be censured. Now, guys, we have a very hot topic in today's video with a person who many say is the next leader of the Democratic Party. It's kind of scary if you think about it, but let's go ahead and get right down to it by checking out what people are actually saying about Jasmine Crockett.
Right here in Texas, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. I give you her best hits.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. You know, I think, and I love Colin, and I think towards the end he started to punch a little harder. But, like, it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard, right? Like, there is no niceties with him, like, at all. Like, you go clean off on him, right? Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot mess.
We got to, just to explain for the audience, she's talking about Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, who was paralyzed jogging in Houston when a tree fell down after a storm. He is in a wheelchair. She calls him Governor Hot Wheels, I guess. Now, is this a good move? Is this the guiding light voice for Democrats? Jasmine Crockett.
Well, Will, I can talk in a fake accent, too, and move my head real fast, and then it sounds like I know what I'm saying, but that doesn't make it the case. I can't put those eyelashes on, though, because I would look completely ridiculous. But
hey,
this
real
woman,
quick, Dave,
this
to your
woman,
point of it being fake,
yes,
people should see before and after videos. There are before and after videos of her putting on this accent.
It is a completely fake accent. I know you're in the Dallas area. I sympathize with you, and I don't know if you got my card, my sympathy card, because you have to put up with her in a much more specific way than I do. But it's a fake accent, and all she's doing is trying to out crazy AOC. The left never knows when to say enough is enough. We better reel this in, and that's why she's the star of the left right now, because she's gone crazier than AOC. She's basically called for violence. She's up there mocking a man in a wheelchair, whether she likes Greg Abbott or not. It's completely tasteless.
Foresight really isn't something that many Democrats have. They tend to talk first before even thinking, if thinking at all. And Dave Rubin is right. We're seeing Crockett all over mainstream media because she's shown that she's crazier than AOC, that she's willing to say whatever is necessary to rile people up. Now, Governor Greg Abbott, he did respond to what Crockett said. So here he is talking about it on Fox News.
I had an accident at 26 and you were jogging and you had a very severe injury, and yes, you are in a wheelchair, and I've gotten to know you. You're a personal friend of mine. I take it personally when friends of mine are attacked viciously for no reason, and there's no way in hell that this woman and her ex-post is going to convince me she meant anything other than what we all believe it to be. Your reaction?
Well, Sean, is another day and another disaster by the Democrats. The reality is they have no vision, no policy. They have nothing to sell but hate. And Americans are not buying it. It's one reason why Texas is going to remain red and why Republicans are going to continue to win elections across the country. The fact, Sean, is that Texas is actually in direct contrast to what she was talking about. Texas has ranked #1 for the most new jobs in America over the past month, #1 for the most new jobs over the past year and for several years. Texas ranks #1 for the most new economic development projects for 13 years in a row. CEOs who run businesses have ranked Texas the best state for doing business for 20 years in a row. And Texas is in the vanguard as it concerns the future of the United States, such as space exploration, such as artificial intelligence, such as semiconductors, as well as power generation. The bottom line is that Republican states like Texas are leading the way, and with comments like this by Democrats, we will just leave them in the dust in future elections.
Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. Crockett on her end tried to spin the Hot Wheels comment that she said about Governor Greg Abbott, although it's a very tough spin because she says that it's about how the governor sent illegal aliens to different cities and states.
She posted on X after getting backlash, not really backing down. She kind of doubled down. I wasn't thinking about the governor's condition. I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants into communities led by black mayors. I'm even more appalled that the very people who unequivocally support Trump, a man known for racially insensitive nicknames and mocking those with disabilities, are now outraged.
Now, what do Democrats do whenever they're stuck between a rock and a hard place? They go ahead and they defer the blame on President Trump. They try and steer the conversation away from what they did and instead want the focus back on the president. So this is exactly what CNN commentator Ashley Allison did as she defended Crockett and said that she believes the Congresswoman's excuse.
I mean, I think actions speak louder than words. And in this instance, I think we have a president who, when the plane crash happened in Washington, D.C., he blamed it on people with disabilities. When RFK says that autism is a threat to the American way of life, which is a disability. Apparently, the White House has ended ASL, American Sign Language interpreters, in briefings, which is making it inaccessible. Questioning and gutting Social Security, which a lot of disabled people rely on, Medicaid, Medicare, people rely on. And in his first campaign, mocking disability. Two wrongs don't make a right, but actions speak louder than words. And the policies of the Republican, including undermining special education, ID, the Individuals with Disability and Education Act, making sure that schools are not going to be accessible. Those are the actions of this administration. Those are the actions of the Republican Party. I would rather folks be demonizing those things than...
But to be clear, you don't agree with what she said, right?
Well, her explanation was that she wasn't referring to that policy. If she
so you buy that?
But here's the thing. If you make fun of somebody because of their disability, I do not agree with that. As a person with a disability, as a person who has family members with a disability, as a person who has taught children with a disability, that is not acceptable. She said that's not what she was doing, and so I know Jasmine, and I believe Jasmine if that's what she was saying.
Well, I don't know her yet.
Even Van Jones cannot defend what Jasmine Crockett said. And this guy's a hardline liberal. There's more bad news as Republican Representative Randy Weber has revealed his plan to introduce a resolution to censure Crockett over her comments. Now, a censure is kind of it's like a formal condemnation. We know that Representative Al Green was censured for interrupting President Trump in his joint Congress address multiple times already, and the same could actually be done to Jasmine Crockett. Now, we're gonna have to wait and see if Weber will force the House GOP leadership to consider the resolution quickly by making it privileged. Although it's pretty safe to say that the Congresswoman is quickly showing her true colors to the American people. This is something that's only helping the Republican Party. So here's CNN's Scott Jennings telling Democrats that they should continue having Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett as the face of their party. He also put down the hard truth in terms of where the left is headed in terms of politics and values.
Yeah, and she tried to walk it back and obviously forgot about her previous commentary using that exact same insult. I don't know how the Democrats came to appoint Jasmine Crockett as the unquestioned leader of your party, but thank God. And I think what she should do is go on TV twice as much as she is right now, maybe 3 times as much. Because every time she appears and makes one of these mistakes, says something radical, it only further divides her party from the rest of the other 80% of America who can't stand this. But the problem is there's an audience for it. I heard Jimmy Kimmel's audience cheering on Tesla vandalism. I hear the Daily Show audience cheering on attacks on Elon Musk. I hear the human rights audience cheering on an attack on a man in a wheelchair. And I realize this is what the left has become, an angry mob of people who are cheering on attacks on a guy in a wheelchair and vandalism against people who bought a Tesla. It's pathetic.
And he's right. As long as there's an audience that applauds cars being burnt and the disabled being mocked, Crockett will remain relevant, which just goes to show how extreme the left has become. Do any of you guys think that it's a good idea to keep showing radicals like Crockett as a leader within the Democratic Party? Well, guys, the great wealth transfer is in full effect. Our freedoms are being stolen, guys. Credit card companies are out to get us. And if you don't understand the game, well, you end up getting played by the game. Now, if you're anything like me, guys, you know, you were probably out of shape, maybe in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and just feeling like the system is just completely taking advantage of you. I remember for a long time, I could rarely ever get any time to spend with my wife. And through trial and error and through a lot of pain, I figured out how to gain freedom and also lose a lot of weight and actually get in shape. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was a game changer. To no longer be living paycheck to paycheck, figuring out how to get the credit cards to pay me, the power of a strong credit score. I pay thousands of dollars less per year for the same house as my neighbor just because my credit is better than his is. And this is not to brag. I mean, but this is the truth. The banks are literally taking advantage of the poor. It's like the people who can least afford it, they're charging the poor what is like unofficially called a poor tax or a tax on the poor. I mean, I'm now at a point where, you know, like, number one, I don't pay for credit cards. In fact, credit card companies pay me to use their cards. And I figured out how to build a lifestyle that is just ultimately very, very healthy. I lost a tremendous amount of weight and I put on a lot of muscle. But when I was struggling, I wish I knew people who knew these things. So anyway, I decided to create a community of like-minded people who are also interested, just like me, in living better. So if you guys want to join my community, it's called the Liberty Pursuit Network. It is brand new. Come on over. I'd love to have you guys and join like-minded people. Be positively motivated by others who are also on the same pursuit. So I'm going to leave a link for you guys so you can join me over on the Life Pursuit Network in the description down below this video. So check it out, guys, and let's not be a victim of this great wealth transfer that is taking place right now.
Because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now.
Governor Hot Wheels.
And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes. And because we in these.
I don't know. It seemed like the only thing that's that hot is Jasmine Crockett wearing that hot weave, because it just seems like that weave is just like retaining a lot of heat. But seriously, guys, like just when you thought it couldn't get any worse for Jasmine Crockett, Congress just dropped the hammer. Representative Randy Weber has officially filed a resolution to censure Jasmine Crockett, and the details inside the documents are jaw-dropping. Now, it seems like we're getting more and more Democrats getting censured here. Remember what happened during Trump's speech recently? Another Texas congressman was actually escorted out of the premise. Do you guys remember that? I think you probably do. It was the same guy who tried to impeach President Trump. Yeah. So this isn't some symbolic slap on the wrist here, guys. This is a public congressional condemnation it literally stays on your record forever. So the resolution, it says it all. Her disgusting mockery of Texas Governor Greg Abbott, calling him Governor Hot Wheels and a hot ass mess at a human rights campaign event. Unbelievable. This wasn't even some one-time slip either. That was just one part of a pattern of inflammatory, disgraceful, and discriminatory behavior. In fact, the resolution also brings up her attacks on Marjorie Taylor Greene's appearance during a House oversight hearing, comments that were petty, they were personal, and they were just totally unbecoming of a sitting member of Congress. But of course, we're talking about Jasmine Crockett here, so would you be surprised if I were to tell you that it actually gets worse? Because what Crockett said about Ted Cruz makes this whole situation, it literally takes it to a whole nother level, right? Now, during a recent appearance, public appearance, mind you, Jasmine Crockett openly praised the idea of punching political opponents. Now, I'm not paraphrasing, guys. I'm actually quoting. She said, quote, "I think you punch. I think you're okay with punching. It's Ted Cruz. He's gotta be knocked over the head. There's no niceties with him, end quote. Now, wait a second here, guys. Wait a second. This isn't some basement podcast. This is a member of the United States Congress encouraging violence against another sitting U.S. senator. Now, let me ask you this, guys. If a Republican said that about a Democrat, what would the headlines look like to you? What do you think it would look like? What do you think the headlines would say? Wouldn't that be probably front page news for at least a week? But because it's Jasmine Crockett, suddenly the media wants to just kind of, I don't know, sweep it under the rug and let's just pretend that, she was just being passionate. No, guys, let's set the record straight. This is reckless. This is divisive and it's dangerous. And just when you think that you've probably heard it all, the video surfaces. The one where she mocks disabled veterans, disabled Americans, specifically Governor Greg Abbott, who uses a wheelchair. She said it with a smirk, too. We got Governor Hot Wheels down there. And the only thing hot about him is that he's a hot ass mess. Now, that's a direct quote from Jasmine Crockett. I mean, like, how do you even begin to defend something like that, right? She's on stage, mind you. This is not some random hot mic or something like that. She didn't know she was on camera. She's saying this just bluntly and openly. She's a congresswoman, not some TikTok troll. And so this isn't just about one moment, guys. It's about a dangerous trend. And that's exactly what the censure resolution is trying to stop here, guys. So, and here is the wild part. You guys want to hear the wild part? Here's the wild part. All of this, the mocking, the violence, the assault, it might not get her, or it might not only get her censored. It might actually land her butt behind bars. Because up next, guys, I'm going to show you the exact footage that may very well trigger criminal charges and the police report that's already been filed against her. You need to see it to believe it. So don't go anywhere, guys. This is just getting started. So, all right. So now let's talk about one of the most explosive and underreported accusations in this entire saga, okay? Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is being accused of inciting violence, not just rhetoric, but real world violence against another. This actually goes against none other than Tesla dealerships across the country. How do you do that? How do you attack dealerships, right? That's right, guys. There have been Mazel Tov cocktail attacks, graffiti covered showrooms, smashed windows, vandalized vehicles, and some are pointing the finger directly at Crockett, saying her public comments may have lit the fuse on these targeted attacks. And look, guys, you'll hear her defenders scream, "Oh, it's just speech." But when your speech results in firebombs and destruction, there's a line that's clearly been crossed, and crossed dangerously. And don't worry, guys, I got the receipts. We'll be breaking down her exact comments that critics say may have encouraged this chaos. Now, I'm going to play the clip for you guys in just a minute so you can judge for yourself. And speaking of bad judgment, let's not forget the moment where all of this just seemed to boil over publicly. During a human rights campaign event, a formal, otherwise typically professional setting, Crockett stood on stage and mocked a sitting governor's disability, calling Texas Governor Greg Abbott Governor Hot Wheels and a hot ass mess. Yeah, guys, she said it in front of a crowd with cameras rolling and as a member of the United States Congress. Now, I don't care what your politics are, guys. There's a level of human decency that should never be crossed. Can you imagine yourself being out in public? Imagine one of your kids were to make fun of a handicapped person. What would you do to your kids? Would you permit that? Is that the kind of parent you are? I don't think you are that type of parent. You wouldn't allow your kid to even have the thought cross their mind, right? And yet this wasn't even a slip. It was a crowd pleaser for her. But hang on tight, guys, because I'm about to show you exactly what that crowd's reaction was, and it may be more telling than what she said. But here's the real question. Is this who we're now elevating to leadership in America? Jasmine Crockett is being floated as one of the new faces of the Democratic Party. And yet she has no vision. She's got no policy proposals and no solutions. She's made zero serious contributions to solving inflation, border issues, education, national security, nothing. What do we hear from Crockett? We hear trash talk, personal attacks, racial division, and Twitter-worthy sound bites that belong on a reality TV show, not in Congress. And some are now saying the quiet part out loud, guys, that her rise to power may have more to do with DEI checkboxes than actual merit or leadership. Listen to how she talks about Greg Abbott.
Because we in these hot-ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot-ass mess, honey. So yes. Because we in these
wow, guys. Wow. I mean, in fact, the host you're going to hear from in just a minute raises a chilling possibility. Did she even win her seat fairly? Did she cheat? Or are we seeing the result of political engineering at work, guys? Now, I've got another item that I want to share with you guys. And if you weren't sure whether she's crossed the legal line, this next piece might actually seal the deal. Because when you mock the disabled, you incite violence, assault a journalist, and show zero remorse, there's a word for that. It's called unfit. And maybe soon also incarcerated. Well, coming up, guys, the moment Jasmine Crockett may have just handed her her opponents exactly what they need to put her behind bars. So stick with me, guys, because you are not going to want to miss this. Now, look, I want to address something heads on, right? Because I've actually seen it thrown out there just way too often. You're just afraid of intelligent black women. Okay. Now, as a black person myself, let me be crystal clear. This is not about race, and it's certainly not an attack on black women. Okay. In fact, I have nothing but deep respect for the black women who've led movements, who have raised families, who have built successful businesses, and have held this country together in ways that the history books don't even begin to capture, okay? So this is absolutely not about character. This is about conduct. This is about accountability, okay? Because when you're a public servant, when you take the oath to represent the American people, you're held to a higher standard, okay? And when you mock disabled people, when you promote violence, and when you assault a journalist simply for asking a question, you cross the line, regardless of who you are. And let me tell you something, the strong, intelligent black women that I know, they're not cheering Jasmine Crockett on. They're shaking their heads like, yo, you're making us look bad. Because they know that this kind of behavior sets the movement back. It doesn't set it forward. Now, in a moment, I'm going to show you some of what, I'm going to show you what some of them have actually been saying online. And I promise you guys, it's not the kind of support that Jasmine Crockett was hoping for. And, after the footage of the assault dropped, Jasmine Crockett, she tried to go into damage control mode.
I just left the Office of Congressional Ethics. I just filed an ethics complaint against the esteemed Rep. Jasmine Crockett for assaulting me, and I guess you could say, more importantly, violating my First Amendment rights, because that's what she did. I really wasn't going to file an ethics complaint against Texas's esteemed Congresswoman until it was brought to my attention this morning that Rep. Crockett is running around the halls of Congress right behind me like she's some victim. You won't believe this, but maybe you will, because this town is crazy. Rep. Crockett is running around with extra United States Capitol Police security, paid for by you, the taxpayers. So let's get this straight. Rep. Crockett threatens a United States senator, threatens Elon Musk, threatens Tesla owners, attacks a journalist, and yet somehow she's the victim. No more. That is why I filed an ethics complaint. This lady is...
Now, I've got some good news. In a recent live stream that I did, there are some people on Social Security right now who are receiving thousands of dollars in their bank accounts. And it comes from legislation that was actually signed last year. So make sure you guys check that video out to confirm if you happen to be eligible for this money. Now, as always, guys, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. We'll see you next time.